It's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum. And I'm all out of gum. An interesting quote found in the video game Duke Nukem. Every video game tells a unique story. Whether you are gaming on your phone or on a beastly PC, most of us have stumbled upon a video game that we have come to love. Video games, they've been around for such a long time and they will be a passion for many. All types of video games have been created throughout the years to cater to every audience, from adventure and science fiction to, yes, even porn games. Thanks, Japan. Video games have become a staple in the world for everyone to enjoy. This brings me to the topic of my speech, video games and its impact on the world. Video games have remained a pastime for moments when you want to relax and have fun, or when you want to compete with your friends. Technology has even allowed video games to be more accessible and has even helped boost the economies of many countries. According to an article by Chris Morris of CSNBC, August 10th, 2010, the video game industry added $4.95 billion to the US gross domestic product. The purpose of my speech is to inform you about video games and its impact on the world. Today, I will be talking about the history of video games, the pros and cons of video games, and video games and its impact today. Sit back and enjoy the ride. So, video games go all the way back to 1958 when physicist William Higginbotham created the first video game called Tennis for Two, which is pretty much identical to the more famous game, called Pong. An article written by Alan Chotis from APS News, October 2008, showed that Tennis for Two was actually widely popular among visitors to October Brookhaven until, that exhibit was removed and the parts were used for other inventions. The simple game of Pong was created in 1972, which would bring along the first real video game, and this would revolutionize video games forever. Later in the years came the Atari 2600 in 1977 and the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1983, which brought titles like Mario, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and more into the spotlight. Other handheld video game consoles were also becoming very popular. But with the introduction of the Game Boy in 1989, this handheld console has sold over 100 million in just a measly 20 years. Big rivalries grew into a fight for console supremacy between Sony's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox as online services were going live and allowed you to play and chat with others without actually having to see each other in person. With technology improvements throughout the years, gaming started to become more popular and mainstream with people across the world. Now, video games were starting to get its worldwide attention, but this brings me to the next point of my speech, which is on the pros and cons of video games. Video games have come a long way, but they possess the pros and cons to those that play them. According to an article by Andrea Norcia and Jean Jacquement of Sutter Health, November 2019, the brain's physical structure when playing video games acts just like a person playing the piano. Your brain is constantly making choices within video games, which gives your brain a nice workout and even helps with your fine motor coordination, logical thinking, spatial skills, and many more. However, there are some problems that can arise from playing video games, especially video games that includes violence as a task. Teenagers are the ones that get their hands on these violent video games, and studies have shown playing these games has been leading to more aggression and violent behavior as parts of the brain dedicated for self-control decrease and increase in emotional arousal. Video games can also be very addictive, which rob players the opportunity to physically interact with others, and even video game addiction was listed as a mental health disorder by the World Health Organization. Consumers who would also like to get a video game should also pay attention to the age rating, as these ratings can also really impact how much violence there could be within the video game. Now that you know a little bit more about the pros and cons of video games, I would like to move into my final topic of my speech, and talk about video games and its impact on the world today. In today's world, video games are mainstream, just like how movies and music dominate our culture. With the introduction of free-to-play games with live online services, more people flocked in herds and only paid money for in-game rewards if they really enjoyed the game. Even mobile games on your phone or on your fancy switches provide you with entertainment and enjoyment that can be played whilst on the move. In a Guardian article by Sean Mohanan, January 11, 2021, politicians like AOC helped spread awareness about the 2020 election by playing and streaming the popular game Among Us to the younger generation of voters. Technology is also improving day by day, which has allowed video games to significantly improve as the years go by. The allure of realistic graphics to increased online services has made all gamers and creators ready for the future of gaming to never end. Hell, you can even make it possible to feel like you're in-game playing with virtual reality. Video games, they've taken over the world, and if you try to stop it, you might just bring the world to a halt because of its effects on the modern world. From my speech today, I addressed the history of video games, the pros and cons, and the impact video games have had on the world today. The world might have been a different place if video games didn't have the same impact it has today. Every video game tells a unique story, from how it was created and to the story that you follow within the game. Some video games will remain classics that we will look fondly back to, and new games come creating new stories to follow. Whether you want to smash, go down a green pipe, play with some blocks, or get a #1 victory royale, the worst part of a video game is seeing the dreaded screen of "You died."